Well, hello Reaper fans. Today we are doing the Thornback Troll by Siens. This is a beautiful looking miniature, nice solid heavyweight metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this mounted onto probably a 50mm base, and we'll do a little bit of painting together. Quite a simple paint today. We're going to go for some dark browns and highlight this miniature. And we'll make a nice little base for it as well as. So what I'll do is I'll get this all based up and we'll come back and I'll show you the miniature. Okay, so let's start with the basics. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to do a very simple base. So I got some PVA glue in here. I got my lovely sand mix from the beaches of Scotland. So we've got that. We've mixed in some shells. And we've got a little tub of larger rocks that I've collected as well. Now what we're looking for is a couple of the smaller ones. And what we'll do, like that, perfect. So we've got lots of little tiny ones. Not too big, not too heavy, but just enough, as Baby Bear would say. Now what we're going to do is we've got some super glue there. And we're just going to dot the super glue around the base a little bit. And stick a few of these stones around the base. So blob blob blob, one there, and one up tight there, and one just there. And of course this is a brilliant free way of doing your bases. I mean, apart from you buying your little base there, what we're doing is we're getting all this stuff for free from the beaches and our local areas. When you go for your dog walks, you can pick up twigs and all stuff like that. So what we just really want to build up our bases just by adding these little larger stones. What will happen is when I add the sand, which is a little bit thinner, of course, it will blend in very nicely with the rest of the miniature. And then of course, once you've painted it with your primer coat, everything just comes into place. And I'll show you that in a little bit later. But what we're going to do now, I have to leave this dry. But once it's dry, I will be adding the PVA glue and I'll add this sand here. And I'll come back once I've added all the sand and I'll show you what it looks like. And then we'll do the priming. I've added the sand now to the top with the PVA glue, and as you can see, it's looking absolutely fantastic. Now this is as simple as it gets for making really nice looking bases for your miniatures. So as you can see, I've added some larger rocks and we've got the PVA glue and we've added the sand. Now it's going to take a few hours for this to dry, so I'll have to leave it, and what we'll do is we'll come back and I'll prime the miniature, and then we'll make a start getting this miniature painted up. But as you can see, you can do this for all your bases, and it's a real fantastic way, and it adds so much more. Now on a final note for when you're doing your bases, always make sure you clean up the rim of the base. This is a thing I see so many absolutely wonderful artists do. They can do an absolutely beautiful miniature, but what will happen is they'll leave the rim with little bits all around it, you know, where they haven't cleaned it off, and it actually ruins a very beautiful miniature. So always make sure you get your rims nice and clean, and you'll have a beautiful looking miniature on your tabletop. So I'll come back once this is dry and I've primed the miniature. Okay, our paint is on. This is our wood stained brown. It's still a little bit wet, but I want it to be wet because what we're going to do is we're going to start blending all our little colours in. Now, I'm using 4 colours today. We got Barbarian Flesh, we got Rainy Grey for the rocks, more wood stained brown. Wood stained brown we're going to be mixing with our solid white to give a lighter colour across the skin tones of the troll. So let's make a start. I am going to go and put some white into my wood stained brown, so our first little highlight, and we're going to go over the whole of the miniature very simply, just over the stomach, tummy, arms, wrists, fingers, thighs and toes. Very fast and easy, and it'll look fab on your tabletop. He's got a cheeky little bum going on there. So that's our first little highlight there. what I'm going to do, I'm going into the barbarian flesh. I'm going to add that in with my textures of my brown and a little bit of white. So it's just a little bit of the barbarian flesh, and this will just give a bit of a better highlight over all the highest areas. Of course, you've got ropes and things there. We're going to paint that later. What we're working on now is just getting all the flesh done on this main troll area. And once we've done the highlights, we just add a little ink wash across the top. Very, very simple. Again, going back into the barbarian flesh. As you can see now, it's starting to get the highlights of the barbarian flesh coming through. This just works really nice for the troll. And of course, we're keeping it all dark underneath. This is where the shadows are. So as always, light source from the top, so it's going to be lighter at the top where the light's shining down. And so we always make the top lighter. So top of the hands there, just at the top of the tummy, little light source there, and on the cheeks just here, see these little cheeks are popping out. Light's going to be hitting them because they're nice and flumpy little cheeks. Oh, nearly dropped it. And of course on the back as well, so the highest areas where the light source will be hitting the miniature, just like so. Super duper and easy. Now, while the miniature's still wet, I'm going straight into the grey now. So I've got my grey on my palette. I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm going straight onto the rocks, and we're going to start highlighting all these little rocks dotted around the miniature. We're keeping that brown because the brown is the dirt. And we're just going round, round. Just go into the highest areas. This is our first coat of grey on the rocks. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of white. Adding a little bit of white to that grey. So this is going for the highest areas of the rock now. This is where, just on the highest tips. There you go. Okie dokie. Right, and now I'm going to wash my brush. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use that barbarian flesh neat on the actual club here. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go straight into that barbarian flesh. It's a nice brown colour. So I think it'll look really nice just lightly going across the top of the wood here on the old club. It'll just give a little bit of extra. Yeah, it's nice, I like that. Okay. Right, that's all I need to do for that. Let's go straight into our leather items now. So, for the leather, we got leather here. I'm going to get some, I think I have got some, I got some rich leather by MSP Paints. So we'll give that a quick mix. And my little paint mixer there. And use my pokey stick to make sure the paint comes out. Pokey stick! I'm going to need a little bit. And grab a nice sized brush, and what we'll do is just detail these parts here. So we're just going over here, there we go, just doing the leather areas. Oh, got the wrong brush. Yes, this is the one, that's what I want, double O. That's it. We're just going over all the leather areas on the troll, nice and simple. Got a little leather thing here, hiding his bits. hiding his troll bits. And of course on the hand here he's got a lever going around, so we just cut these parts. Okay, that's all we need to do for now. What we do, we leave this dry. Once this is dry, I'm going to go over the whole miniature with a brown ink wash, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the miniature off, put in the eyes and teeth, and add some flocking to the base, and maybe a few highlights depending on where the ink wash ends up. Oh, one last thing before we do add the ink wash is I want to get the teeth painted in. So we're just going to add a little bit of white here, because what will happen is when I add the ink wash, there we are, when I add the ink wash, this teeth will go nice and brown and dirty, and it will show through very nicely. That's it, simple as that. The eyes will do after the ink wash is added, so I'll add the ink wash now and then come back. I've also added a little bit of white just to around the cuffs there, but other than that, perfect. That's all I want to do. Let's add that ink wash. Okay, so the ink wash is almost dry. I'm going to start putting the eyes in now. I got my special X-ray vision glasses on. And what we're going to do is we're just going to get these eyes done. So I'm just going to add the white there, and same on the other side. A little bit of white, like so. Wash my brush, and we'll go back into our black, and what we'll do is we'll work around the eye. So what we'll do is we'll add the pupil like so, and then at the bottom of the eye we'll go along with our black. This will highlight the eye a little bit more, just like so there, and we do the same on the other side. So we add in the black just in the middle, going down, and then at the bottom just finishing it off, making it nice and neat by adding a black line at the bottom. This makes the eye nice and almond shaped and looks more realistic. There's our eyes done. So all I need to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of green to the base. We're going to dry brush a little bit of green and add some flocking, and I'll paint the rims of the base in black. Okay, so I use my glasses mainly for the eyes and fine details. As for this miniature though, we don't need it too much. What we do need though is a nice little bit of green. So for our base we shall find some green. What have I got here? We got Meadow Green by MSP Paints. So we're going to use that for the base. Now what I'm trying to do with my paints, I've talked about this before, is I'm trying to use up the paints that I've got, because I've got hundreds and hundreds of paints from Reaper Miniatures and Army Painter and Vallejo, and I'm trying to use them all up, which will never happen. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use up the paints I got before I start buying more. The only paints I intend to buy in the future will be my woodstained brown, black and white, so your main colours really that I need for everyday painting. Okay, so I've got my little bit of green there on my palette. Let's go for the old manky brush again, this one here, and we'll just start doing the base up. So what we're doing here is just adding a little bit of green just to the base here, just a little bit, don't need much. It's just enough to give it a nice juicy feel. Nice lovely look to the base. Just adds a little bit of colour. Just around the bottom of the rocks there. And that's just right. Okay then. All I'm going to do now is I think we'll add a couple of pieces of tufts. We've got some tufts. What colour tufts? We got some yellow tufts here. Actually, I like these ones here. These are grass clumps, 12mm grass clumps. They're quite tall, but they go nice with like a swampy troll looking tufts. So for this, I will need some super glue. I'm only going to add maybe two pieces. So we'll have one here. Oh, if you can see what I'm doing, that would help. Let's get some focus on there for you. There you go. Hello. Okay. So a little bit of glue that side, and one bit of glue just here as well. So we're just going to use two tufts. I've got my little tweezers, and we're going to take these tufts because they're quite large, but they work fantastic for what we need. Now this company that I've been buying these tufts from, it's for model railways, but they actually work perfect for our fantasy tufts. Oh, it's easier to do it by hand sometimes. You know, stay there. Thank you very much. Yeah, one more, just there. Now, of course, we're going to have to leave this dry for a few minutes, and then we'll come back. Now, with this, with these tufts here, they got a white base. So once the ink wash has dried, let me zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Once this ink wash is dried here, what you do is cover the bottom of the base of these with these tufts with some brown ink wash. That'll blend in the bottom of these bases with the actual base on the miniature. So what I'll do is I'll paint the rim, and I will show you the finished miniature. Okay then, so here we are with the finished miniature. As you can see, I've added the on the base there, I've added the brown ink wash to the bottom of these tufts, and as you can see, like I said, it blends in perfectly now with that base, and you've got a nice dark effect going up to the light, and it works a treat. And of course all the rocks now, because you've got that two-tone plus the brown ink wash, you've got a very natural looking rock formation on the base just by using simple rocks I found in the garden and on my walks. As for the rest of the miniature, you got your brown ink washes there, and I've used tissue to remove the highest areas of the ink wash, and that's given us a nice little skin tone and a light source coming down from the miniature. And the same with the club there, you can see it's light on the top and dark underneath, and the same with his bum and the back there, it's all dark at the bottom. There we are, and of course we got the leather effects there, very very nice, simple with the browns, and we got the eyes and the teeth, and we got the highlights on the cheeks there and on the top of the head, and this is because we've added a lighter paint to the top areas of the muscles and the head and the cheekbones. When you add that ink wash, you then remove the ink wash from the highest areas, and that leaves you with this beautiful effect. And of course you got a nice swampy looking base by adding that green. It looks dirty and manky, and it's a beautiful looking miniature. I'm very very happy with this little sculpt today and paint. I hope you enjoyed the miniature. I will be back next Friday with another fantasy miniature paint. I will be uploading our D&D game in the next couple of days. Plus, I shall be starting a new little show doing some Star Wars vintage figures, where I'm 3D printing Star Wars vintage figures, and we'll be painting them to look like the old vintage figures. So they're reproduction figures, scanned from original figures, and I'll tell you all about the guy who is doing these miniatures, and we'll go from there. And it's a very exciting thing if you love the original Star Wars vintage figures. So until next time, have a lovely weekend and loads of love to all of you.